The king was exuberant with life, spreading laughter like perfumed winds of spring. Indeed, many songs celebrated this new mood. The grandmothers and grandfathers would say, when a king is happy as ours, the nation must grit itself for disasters. The forefathers said, a beautiful day closes with thunderstorms. Shaka began again to agitate for an emissary to King George. He summoned the strangers from their coastal settlement and told them which of his men should go. Lieutenant King of the white strangers led the team. Of him, Shaka said, he did not possess the wet lips of a thief. He made him commander of Gibanganya regiment, thus giving him the status to present his word with authority. Those of the Palm race began to learn of the overseas customs. Temporarily, they stayed at the home of Shambamaz. While the boats were being repaired and assembled, they stood at sea, displaying the name Shaka. In this way, the strangers affirmed their gratitude. While all these preparations were happening, the great capital of Duguza bustled with new life. Even enemies spoke with awe of the name of Shaka. People of Zululand awaited the meeting of the two great monarchs, for many had begun to admire the humility of the strangers. Everywhere were words praising the rule of Shaka. His brothers began to distrust their own close friends. At this very time, Shaka sent word ordering a great festival to be held throughout Zululand. Young men and women had to stage their own gala dance. Everywhere, new songs and new poems were composed. Shaka himself led the regiments to the mountain. Here, it is said, King Jama used to gaze at the horizon. The great concourse of regiments raised their voices and sang. They circled the mountain, imitating the giant river snake. Crowds followed the king to the flat top of the mountain, there to witness the games of strength initiated by Shaka. People were adorned in their elegant finery, walking proudly like giraffes following the path of the forest. When all the crowds had assembled, a black bull was let loose into the arena, and 10 young men were to kill it with their bare hands. The first team of bullfighters came from the Zimpolo regiment. They struggled and tumbled with the black bull in the arena. The bull roared, advancing fiercely at them. Some crept close, attempting to hold the violent forehead. Others followed, stalking each step of the hind legs, planning to seize it all at once by a sudden movement. But by its angry advance, it made others retreat. By simultaneous hold on the hind legs and head, they temporarily subdued it. Jerking itself away from their grasp, it tore open one victim, flinging him high as though he was some piece of garment. Angered, the young men seized it by the horns, simultaneously forcing its legs to the ground. Others now twisted its head, breaking the vital neck bones. In a loud voice, it bellowed out its last beat of life. The spectators shouted ecstatic slogans of praise, yet these challengers had failed since one of their team had died. The next team of challengers came from the Ngumanga regiment. They flexed their muscles publicly in a boast of strength. The black and white bull was now let loose. It snorted and bellowed as if its head was filled with fire. They fell on it with swift, coordinated movements. They broke its power, throwing it to the ground like a log. But in a sudden movement, it threw them off, breaking loose and running triumphantly over the wide space, throwing aside great clouds of dust. Once again they attacked, pulling its fierce head upwards and twisting its neck. Others turned its club-like hind legs, causing it to fall to the ground. With a concerted effort, they broke its neck bones. A loud cry of pain proclaimed its last breath of life. The spectators shouted in a great ecstasy of joy, acclaiming this display of skill and strength. They called out now for more bull challengers. Thus was let loose the fierce Red Bull, whose shoulders trembled with muscle and power. Proudly it snorted in all directions. Suddenly, as if seeing some contemptible creature, it stopped. Its legs quivered as if desiring to run in all directions at once. Its chest pulsated as though it would burst open. The team from the Mbele regiment inched closer. But by a quick movement, the bull turned, its eyes red with anger. It shook its long horns, threatening to break through their circle. But the team of Mbele regiment closed in on it. It now rushed to those ahead of it, but those behind it followed closely, causing it to move cautiously forward. By a sudden move, it broke loose, running wild and bellowing loud into the skies. They all fell, tripping over each other and widening their circle. Perhaps it was the tree ahead of it that hindered its movement, enabling the pursuers to turn its head and twist its neck. It made a loud, painful cry as they snatched its life with bare hands. The spectators shouted out their approval, yet it was the Ufusimba regiment that won the day. They did not spend much effort. They rushed on the black bull, giving it no breathing space. It was as if each one knew which weak spot to attack. In a short period, it was laid on the ground. One section turned and twisted its head, while others held its long, lashing tail. Still others disabled it through strikes at vital points. A loud, clear breaking of the neck bone was heard. The Ufusimba team sang their song of triumph. They shouted out their battle calls. The spectators could contain themselves no longer. They shouted out and called out their heroic poems. Shaka praised their swift and concerted actions. The great mountains echoed with voices of praise. After this event, huge fires were lit to roast meat. A season of plenty and fun dominated throughout Zululand. In many regions, large fires could be seen, attesting to the feasting of this festival. From afar could be heard the raising voices singing into the night. By their songs they invented others, until the whole nation seemed absorbed in song. Mbia's desires seemed now fulfilled. Women wore their chosen feathers of birds of paradise, blending the beauty of their adornments with those of the king. He was tall and splendid in his white and green epaulets of beads. Shaka constantly heard the rumors of a secret kept by his mother. In truth, Nomazibuko, one of the royal women, had given birth to a boy whom she kept with Nomakwebu. Nomakwebu secretly nurtured the king's child.